welcome back to the Financial Bunny TV. My name is Nicolette Mashile, also known as the Financial Bunny. We're moving on with our next episode on Ackerman's Rise Up Remarkable Woman, in partnership, of course, with Ackerman's. It's an entrepreneurial journey where we really get into the nitty-gritties of how to start a business. What do you need to make sure that your business becomes a successful business? Because I think all of us, when we go into the business space, we want it to become a successful business that can grow into something amazing and huge, that one services your community, but also at the same time services you from a financial perspective. And today's episode, we're going to be talking about managing your finances, managing the money. Yes. Business is not always just about the money, because if you're doing it just about the money, you're going to run out of steam. You're going to get tired, because there's going to be instances where some things you're going to have to do and they're not going to make you the money, but in that phase that you are in, you are establishing an amazing business that comes at good quality and you've got amazing value delivery. Remember the 5 parts we spoke about? The one part was you gotta deliver value, as you say. So for instance, in some businesses, you may find that for the first couple of months, all you're going to do is to break even. I spoke a little bit about having that margin, that profitability margin. So if you are using, for instance, 50 Rand to put together a bucket of scones, including ingredients, your time, your electricity, and you can only price it at, for instance, 55 Rand, you are making a 5 Rand margin of profit. But if you can only price it at 50 Rand, it means you may be breaking even. If you are pricing it at 40 Rand, you are making a loss. Right? So sometimes some people, what they do is they will price it at 50 Rand so that they can at least break even. So you're making the same amount of money that you are using to bake the scones. Why? Because maybe for now, when you're starting out, you only have 5 customers. But the more customers you have and the more you can bake, remember, generally in many businesses, the more you bake, and the more you bulk bake, you may find that you're actually using less amounts of money for the ingredients. So it's the same thing for me with my printing business, right? Or at least with my book business. Because I know that when I print, for instance, 100 books, they will charge me like 10 Rand per book. But when I print now 200 books, they're charging me now 9.50 a book. When I print at 1,000 books, they may charge me 5 Rand a book. This is just an example. So it starts to show you that the more customers you have, the less it may actually cost you to put together whatever product or service it is that you are selling, right? So let's use another example. If you are somebody that does events, if you, for instance, need to supply 5 toilets, you could say, okay, at 5 toilets, this is how much I'm going to charge you, right? And then if the customer says, you know what, actually, I'm going to need 6 toilets, then the 6th toilet, you can slightly change your margin on that 6th toilet to be able to give you the margin that you are, or the price rather, that you are looking for. So it's important to understand these things, that sometimes you will break even so that you can start building your business and your customer base, because the more customers you have, the less it will cost you to really put together your product or your service, and then you still charge the customer the price you've advertised, and you can make your margin a little bit bigger. But let's assume you've gone past that stage and now you are making money. How do you manage your finances, your money, so that you can keep being able to produce the product, but also start building the business to its next phase? 1, it's important to budget. In business, we call it forecasting. So it's important to understand that, okay, this month we're going to need this amount of money for ingredients. We're going to need this amount of time to be able to bake. And then I'm going to need this amount of electricity to be able to use my oven. So maybe with the time, I cannot do it on my own, which means that I need to hire 2 other people to come and help me bake. But 2 other people are going to cost me 5,000 Rand each. So how do I forecast for the 10,000 Rand that I need to pay these additional people? So it's important to understand budgeting, which is essentially forecasting when it comes to a business. I'm forecasting that the business is going to need this amount of money in the month of October. Why? Because it's wedding season and we know that we are a supplier for weddings. So if I'm going to, instance, bake scones, I know that in September, October, that's where business starts to pick up. So I forecast that in those months, yes, I may have more customers, but I may also have more costs. Why? Because, obviously, if I'm going to be pushing out the capacity I need to push at, I may need to hire more people or buy more ingredients. But okay, now that is September and October. But what about January the next year, February the next year? Those are the quiet months. And I know that the business still needs a certain amount of money to be able to run because I pay salaries, I pay maybe, I buy stock, all of those things still need to happen. And in the months where I'm not earning the same amount of money I earned in October, September, I still need to be able to run the business. I can't say, oh, we don't operate in January or February because we can't pay salaries or we can't pay those kind of things. So you forecast for January and February. So what do? Then you're budgeting, you're forecasting, and then you've got to save. Every business needs to save money because you don't know when the dry months are going to come. And let me tell you, they are going to come. Dry months are part of running a business. There will be those months where you sit in there and you're like, Aibo, someone must have bewitched me because where are my customers? But also, if the economies of a country change, for instance, in South Africa, right now, it is tough for many South Africans. So people can't afford to buy the luxuries that they were buying. People will say, you know what, last event, we hired Usis Ntombi to bake scones, but now, ayikho imali. We are going to have to bake ourselves here. So we must find people in the family who can bake, and they must bake the scones. It happens. So you also need to be aware of what has changed from your customer's perspective. My customer can no longer pay for a full bucket of scones. So what do? I need to change now maybe and sell half a bucket of scones. I have to make it available to them. At least I'll still have customers. So you need to save up for those dry months so that you as a business can also get through the months, even if you do not have the money to be able to do it. But also saving in a business is for emergencies. Let's say now the oven you are cooking with, the thermostat dies in the oven. Now you've got orders but no oven. So what do? You can't let go of that business. You can't let go of that deal. So now you need to quickly go into your savings and see if, do I have 5,000 rand, 3,000 rand to pay the guy to come and fix my thermostat quickly so that my oven can work, so that I can do my business. And this allows you not to find yourself in a very tricky situation where you now need to tap into a credit facility and create debt. Because remember, you can use your credit card, you can use an overdraft, you can use a loan to also get the money to pay for that thermostat. But that means next month, you must remember, the payment back comes with interest. You have to now pay interest. So what would have cost you 3,000 rand from your savings is now costing you 6,000 rand because of that interest that you must pay back to the bank. So saving is important. But your business must also invest. Simple things like, what can my business invest in? I always say the first place to look is, what can I buy for the business that's going to make the business operate a little bit more better and create opportunities for us to make more money in the business. So if you are, for instance, somebody who bakes, what you can do is you can buy another oven so that you can have 2 ovens, a bigger stove, more buckets, or you can invest in marketing in your business. But you can also invest in other financial products. So you can start a unit trust for your business, a 32 notice account for your business that earns interest, a money market account for your business. So instead of saving the money, put it also into an investment account so that the money can work for you. Remember, in an investment account, the money is going to earn interest. Or if your business is doing really well, you can say, okay, what can we invest in that is not really part of our business? Okay, let's take business money and invest it in building a room that you're going to rent out to other people. Now the business doesn't just bake, but it's also now building these rooms where you can rent them out to people. So your baking business has now bought you a real estate business, a property business. That's how you invest in a business. So it's important to save and invest. We call that pay yourself first. Let the business pay itself first before it even pays its creditors. The third thing which is important when it comes to managing your finances is what we call credit education. All businesses will come to a point where they need to borrow money from someone because they need to be able to pay for certain things. Depends on when your business is going to do that. But it's important to understand credit education. What is the facility that you need to use? Because there is what is called a business loan versus a personal loan, for instance. And a lot of people, when they want to start their businesses, they go and apply for a personal loan. But a personal loan is what we call unsecured debt. Unsecured debt means that it is not attached to any asset. But a business loan is secured debt because it's attached to a business. So a business loan will attract a smaller interest rate versus a personal loan. And the business loan, they usually give you longer to pay it back versus a personal loan, well, they say you need to pay back in a year or in 3 years. So it's about choosing the right credit facility. But to be able to do that, you need to understand credit education. That is part of managing your finances. And remember, just like you have a credit score, so does your business. So if you're going to borrow funds, you're going to have to make sure you build a good credit score for your business so that you can get good terms and conditions, a good interest rate, a good amount of money that you need to borrow, but of course also a good term. So credit education is important for your business. It's getting an overdraft for the business account versus getting a credit card for the business account. Which one is better for your business? The next way to manage your finances is exactly that. Get a bank account. Guys, you must separate your business amount, business money from personal money. That's why you need to get a business account and your own personal account. Why? Let me give you another example. Our moms, when they run their businesses where maybe they are selling, what do you call it? When they're selling amafeti. What is amafeti? We call them fat cooks. So maybe your mom's got a fat cook business, she's busy running the business, and she gets paid in cash. So the money is stashed away in cash. And that's how she's running a business. Because it's a cash business, she does not see the need of getting a bank account. Then you need, for instance, a student loan to go to university. And your mom's income is from this business that she's running. But now the bank is going to ask, how much does your mom make? And they need record keeping to see how much she makes to be able to give you this student loan. So if she's running her money through a bank account, she can print out those statements and say, here are my statements. As much as you may think that this fat cook business is not making money, here is the records that the business is making money. Now they can give you the loan. Or maybe she needs a business loan to buy maybe another stove. Or she maybe wants a second location and she needs to be able to pay salaries. So she's looking for working capital for even 2 or 3 months. It's important to have record keeping, especially as a bank account, because that is going to help her in making sure that she can show that the business is doing well. So when she moves to now the scaling part or the growth part of the business, that's what she can then offer. So it's important to make sure that managing your finances is also something that you get a business account for, because it also keeps record. You know, idle money. Idle money is borrowed money, and borrowed money is gone money. So if you run a cash business where you're always keeping cash and you're depositing into an account, I promise you, when somebody comes into your house, yo, Mage, Banbani, I need to borrow 50 rand. You know, I have 50 rand today. I made 50 rand sales, and you go take the 50 rand and you give them. But it's difficult to give them 50 rand if the 50 rand is in the bank account. So it's also about managing you in terms of how accessible is your money. Part of having a bank account is making sure you pay yourself a salary. You have to pay yourself a salary because you need to know what are all the business costs that you have every single month. You can't be tapping the same business card when you are buying personal stuff because now we don't know. This business is making money, but you are also paying for your own personal groceries with the card. Now we don't really know what are the business costs. So you can't forecast how much the business needs every single month. So part of managing your finances is separating your business funds and your personal funds. And the last thing that I want to speak about when it comes to managing your finances, especially when you are a business woman, is risk management. But what is risk management? Risk management, one, we've already spoken about savings for emergencies. You need to have emergency savings, especially because that is a risk to your business. Let's say, for instance, you are a scholar petrol or a scholar transport business. So you collect children from their homes and you drop them off, go to preschool, primary school, high school. You need to make sure that you've got emergency funds for if something happens to your transport. If, let's say, the car gets into an accident and the tire falls off, and now you need to replace that. Or you get a puncture and you now quickly replace that. And the car insurance doesn't pay for it. Secondly, you need to get car insurance because that business is run on that car. So if you don't have car insurance and your car is out for like 2 or 3 months, you're missing out on business for 2 or 3 months. The next thing you need to also cover is yourself. That's part of risk management. If you are the sole owner of your business and you get sick for 3 months, the business does not make money for 3 months. You are out of work. Can't work. Nobody can make money. But also if you die, you need to make sure that you've got life insurance because the people who are financially dependent on you may not be able to live the quality of life that you were giving them when you were still alive and able to run your business. So life insurance is also one of those. Temporary disability is one of those insurances you do need to get. Give you an example. My business is to talk. I get paid to talk. It's part of my business. In May, I got sick. I got laryngitis, an infection in my throat. But I was booked that same week to do a podcast for a client. But I can't talk. So what do? Luckily, I had an insurance that was called, what is it called? Income protection. Income protection is protecting my ability to make income. So essentially, my inability to talk becomes a temporary disability, which means my income protection should be able to pay, or my temporary disability cover should be able to pay. You need those types of things because if you are the reason how, or if you are the way in which your business makes money, you need to cover yourself. Even a funeral cover. You need a funeral cover when you're an entrepreneur because who's going to bury you? Where will they get the funds to bury you from? But most important, and what we see a lot happening, is people who become entrepreneurs, but they don't have any retirement savings. So they run this business where they're running, as long as they still can, they're running. Then they hit retirement and they can no longer run their businesses, but they have not put money away for retirement. So part of managing your business is making sure that you as the entrepreneur are also taken care of. This allows you to then sit back and say, actually, I am covered in all instances of if something happens to my business. I at least use the business money to be able to cover myself. Emergency funds, budgeting, credit education, forecasting, retirement, investing, credit education, and making sure that your business has a bank account. I'm going to leave it here today. Thank you very much for tuning in. Do remember, if you've got questions, if you've got comments, leave them in the comments section. And if you do have questions, I will definitely try to get to them. I will see you guys on another episode of Ackerman's Rise Up, Remarkable Woman. Mwah.